Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope you're doing really well. Slightly different video today. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the top 10 most wished for fragrances on Amazon for men. More specifically in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the most wished for eau de parfums. And the reason I chose eau de parfums is because the eau de toilette list and the overarching list were not really quite as interesting in my opinion. Maybe in a future video I'll go over them and show you why they're not quite as interesting. But here today, we're taking a look at the top 10 most wished for eau de parfums on Amazon. Let's jump into it. So on the other day, I was on Amazon and I wanted to see what some of you guys out there are wishing for the upcoming holiday season, fragrance-wise. Figured Amazon was my best bet to figure out what those fragrances actually are. I've got screenshots as of when I made this video, so I'll show you guys those here. They update hourly on Amazon, so these fragrances have probably shifted and moved around since I filmed this video, but it still gives you a pretty good idea. And also, I'm not doing any repeats because one of the fragrances on here was repeated twice in the top 10 as different sizes, so I'm not going to count that as two separate entries. Okay, number 10 most wished for fragrance, La Yukawam by Rasasi. And again, these are eau de parfums. We're specifically looking at eau de parfums. Now, if you actually look at Amazon, it says La Yukawam Jasmine Wisp. But if you click into that listing actually has all of the La Yukawam fragrances and flankers, and Jasmine Wisp is the first one listed. So that's why it shows as Jasmine Wisp. I am 99% sure it's actually just La Yukawam that's being wished for. That could cause some issues though, if somebody sees that on somebody's wish list and they're like, oh, buy that fragrance for him and be a good friend or good spouse or whatever, and then they get Jasmine Wisp in, which is not the same, obviously, as just La Yukawam, which is a very well-known Tuscan leather clone from Tom Ford. Actually, probably the best Tuscan leather clone that you can get. So that is number 10. Really interesting to see that there. It makes some sense though. A lot of people really gravitate toward clone fragrances because you can get something that's similar to a much more expensive fragrance for a lower price. And this one, as I just said, is one of the best clone fragrances out there, Rasasi La Yukawam. Years later, after the initial hit of hype, people still wishing for it. Number 9 makes total sense, Spice Bomb Extreme from Viktor and Rolf. This one, in my opinion, is the best of the Spice Bomb line. If I could have just one, I would have this one. It has a lot of similarities to the original, which you would expect, but in my opinion, again, improved upon the original. It's got a really good black vanilla note in there, gives it some nice sweetness. It still has that spice, which you expect, but it's not as aggressive. It's rounded off, more well done, still has beast mode performance. It is expensive. So it makes sense that people would throw that on their wish list and be like, hey, if you're feeling generous, I could use a little Spice Bomb Extreme. This one, can't knock it all. Great fragrance, one of the better designer fragrances out there that you're ever gonna find for wintertime and also fall. Number 8 is Bentley Intense, Bentley for Men Intense. And this one has long been regarded as one of the better bang for your buck fragrances, and I agree. A lot of people will say that it gives you niche quality at a really low designer price, and for the most part, I agree with that too. This one's gonna give you some similarities to Olfactive Studio Chambre Noir. Great fragrance, it's got some booziness in there, woods as well, a lot of depth, a lot of richness, and very good performance in this one as well. Another fragrance more suited for fall and winter time, but this one also makes sense. It's a really good fragrance, doesn't cost too much. Throwing that on your wish list and maybe going back later and picking it up makes sense. And it's also kind of interesting to see that one in there because it means that hype is getting out there over the years and people hear about it and they add it to their wish list, because Bentley for Men Intense is not typically the type of fragrance that you're gonna find when you go into like a Belk or a Macy's. So it's not the kind of fragrance that people are gonna find, spray, and go, oh, I like that, I'm gonna add that to my list for later. So fragrances like this one, when I see it on this list, kind of lets you know that the fragrance community is growing and that more people are learning and hearing about these fragrances. Number 7 is from Azzaro Wanted by Night. And this is another one I can't really knock, in my opinion. A step up from the original, another case where the flanker is better than the first fragrance. Yet again though, another fall and wintertime fragrance. Kind of interesting. You would think a lot of these would have been more leaning toward the fresh side of things, because people that are more casually into fragrances that might be shopping on Amazon more often would go that route. That's what I would think. Fresh stuff, aquatic stuff, but so far, mainly fall and wintertime things. As the name suggests, Wanted by Night, really nice evening fragrance. It's rich, it's got some nice spiciness in there, very attractive, and a big compliment pulling fragrance. Number 6, this one makes all the sense in the world, Creed Aventus. It is the most popular niche fragrance for men out there, and it is also expensive. So it makes sense that a lot of people would put this on their wish list and hope that either somebody picks it up for them as a gift for the holidays, or maybe they're just putting it back there for themselves to remind themselves, you gotta save that money and get that Aventus. Pineapple, bergamot, birch, musk, black currant, you know the notes, you know the fragrance. It has been knocked off, couldn't even tell you how many times. Different clones of this fragrance, very inexpensive, affordable ones. And then you also have lots of different niche companies out there doing their version of Creed Aventus. So really, I mean, I can't knock too many of these at all. They make sense, and Aventus as a wished for fragrance completely makes sense. If anything, I would think that it should be even higher. Number 5 is Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. Another one that makes total sense. One of the most popular blue fragrances out there, extreme versatility, you can wear it anywhere, anytime, big compliment puller as well. The Eau de Parfum of Bleu de Chanel takes that Eau de Toilette, makes it a little richer, makes it have a little more depth, and makes it slightly more mature. Still though, not a mature fragrance, because really anybody can pull this off. This is one that makes more sense to me as a fragrance that people would smell in a Macy's or a Belk, and then add it to their wish list afterward. Because if you've been to a fragrance counter, you probably know that Chanel fragrances, especially Bleu de Chanel, do get pushed pretty heavily as, you know, a really popular fragrance that you've gotta own. So if you come to a fragrance counter and you're not sure what you wanna get, they're gonna be like, hey, you tried Bleu de Chanel? Number 4, super popular, Acqua di Gio Profumo. This one is popular in its own right, just with casual people in general, because it's an Acqua di Gio fragrance, and then also with the fragrance community, because lots of people really loved and still love Acqua di Gio Profumo, and it got a lot of hype, so it makes sense to see it on here. Basically, take the Acqua di Gio DNA, modernize it a bit, throw in some incense, make it a little bit darker, Acqua di Gio Profumo. It makes the Acqua di Gio DNA more well-suited for fall time, possibly even winter time as well, and evening wear. So it makes a lot of sense to see it on here. It's also a big compliment puller, very versatile. So here with this fragrance, we do have one that is a little more well suited overall for spring and summertime, even though, as I said, you could use it in fall and winter. Again, that versatility at play here. But surprisingly, this is one of the only ones that is really well suited or targeted for that time of year. And like all the other ones so far, not really a big surprise to see Acqua di Gio Profumo on here. As I said, people were gonna smell it in stores and the community hyped it. There you go. Number 3, you knew this one had to be somewhere. Dior Sauvage Eau de Parfum. And really, I think it could have been higher. This is the fragrance that had 2 entries. So they had 2 separate sizes in the top 10. If you put all the people that wished for the 3.4 ounce and the 2 ounce together, this one was probably the most wished for fragrance. That's completely unscientific though. It could still be 3rd, but I feel like it'd be higher. So Dior Sauvage Eau de Parfum does the same thing that Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum does. It takes the DNA of the original, the Eau de Toilette, and tweaks it a little bit. It's not a huge departure. It's not as aggressive with the ambroxan, so it's not as metallic. It's not as in your face with the first spray. Still has great performance though. Has a little more depth, a little more richness, slightly more dark as well. A lot of people out there prefer both Sauvage Eau de Parfum and Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum over the Eau de Toilette versions for those reasons. And this is another fragrance like Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum, or just Bleu de Chanel in general, that will get pushed to you at fragrance counters. So Sauvage is one of those fragrances where people are gonna be like, hey, have you tried Sauvage? Have you tried it? But really, have you tried this? Have you tried it? Here, try this, and also buy it. Number 2, Eros Flame from Versace. Eros, the original eau de toilette, is hugely popular, so not a surprise to see Eros Flame on the eau de parfum list. The whole Eros line is a huge attention-grabbing, compliment-pulling line of fragrances. That's really what they're after. Good amount of sweetness in all of the fragrances across the line. Eros Flame does have more versatility than the original eau de toilette though. The original is more of just a club fragrance or a night out fragrance. Eros Flame has more usability during the daytime than the original Eros does. It's a little bit fresher. The citrus and the kinoto in Eros Flame really helps elevate it and give it more versatility. Eros Flame, number 2. Maybe a surprise to see it over some of the other fragrances here, like Aventus or Sauvage Eau de Parfum, but overall not a surprise at all to see it in the most wished for list. And that's gonna take us to number 1. I need you guys to think, rack your brains about what you think number 1 could be. The most wished for fragrance on Amazon, as far as eau de parfums go. What could it be that people really want? I'm gonna let you think about it and leave a comment below about what you think it could be. So let's wait just a little longer. 3, 2, 1. Club de Nuit Intense Man by Armaf. Now I know what you could be thinking. Club de Nuit Intense Man, that is an eau de toilette. And originally it was, but now Club de Nuit Intense Man is being marketed as an eau de parfum. It has changed. And I'm not talking about the limited edition. There is a Club de Nuit Intense Man limited edition, which is an eau de parfum. Just regular Club de Nuit Intense Man is now an eau de parfum. They even have it in a 200 ml size bottle. So yeah, that is number 1. The most wished for fragrance is the most popular Aventus clone out there, which I find very interesting that people are wishing for the clone more than the actual fragrance. That goes to show you how popular this fragrance is though. And I know the places that it's carried in store, it gets pushed like crazy and people buy it like crazy, and a lot of them pay way too much actually. Don't pay crazy money for this in a store ever. I'm referring more specifically to the stores that you'll find in outlet malls. So if you go to an outlet and they have a perfume store there and you go in, they have a lot of Armaf and they will sell those at really high prices compared to what you can get them online. It's really neither here nor there as far as Amazon is concerned, but yeah, Club de Nuit Intense Man, the most popular Creed Aventus clone, is the most wished for fragrance. The opening of this one is not to a lot of people's liking. It's a little bit harsh, lemony. Doesn't really give you that photorealistic pineapple sweetness that you're gonna find in Creed Aventus. But as it dries down, this one does smooth out a bit. It's got really good performance and it is a big compliment pulling fragrance. It is the most popular Aventus clone for a reason. It works very well for a lot of people and you get a lot for the money you pay for it. And that's the number 1 most wished for eau de parfum, Club de Nuit Intense Man. So there we go, the top 10 most wished for eau de parfum fragrances on Amazon as of this video. As I mentioned, Amazon updates this every hour. So they're gonna move around a little bit, but these fragrances should be there right toward the top. And in the future, I may go ahead and do just overall all fragrances, the top 10 most wished for, or the eau de toilettes, and we can see how much they differ from the eau de parfums. And I also bought the cheapest fragrances I could find on Amazon, like 8 or 9 of them, and I'm waiting for those to come in. When they get here, we're gonna check them out. We're gonna smell the cheapest fragrances on Amazon. That should be fun. All right, guys, it's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.